Christmas came and went as quick as a flash as usual, and this year's Christmas special came very close to the release of Hellbent. It features River Song after 2 years of not seeing anything from her in this show. I wasn't really too fussed about her returning, nor am I that bothered about these Christmas episodes. I watched it anyway because of the demand from my subscribers, so now we will delve into this year's Christmas episode and find out if it is worth your time, or if it's just outright forgettable, like the majority of Series 9 has been this year. Oh, the weather outside is alright, but YouTube is so inviting. So lock yourself in your room and enjoy my Doctor Who review. So, the episode opens in the year 5343, and sadly people are still celebrating a tradition based on a story. Call me a humbug, but I am not a fan of Christmas. I was as a child, but now that I've grown up a bit, I can't see it as anything other than a hysterical consumer sensation that makes people feel guilty if they can't afford to get their family satisfactory gifts. Don't get me wrong, it's great at bringing people together if they haven't seen each other all year, but at the same time it seems inescapable for anybody that doesn't enjoy Christmas. It seems like a poor excuse for people to be nice to each other when they should just be nice to each other all year round. Fortunately, the Doctor understands my frustration when we see this sign here. I laughed very loudly because the joyful music and decorations disappear out of frame entirely. Unfortunately, we don't actually see any criticisms of carol singers, but the sign delivered the comedy in a simple enough fashion that I was satisfied nonetheless. Matt Lucas then comes along and drags the Doctor out to perform some surgery. Unfortunately, we have to sit through some dialogue describing an adventure we will never see, but hey ho, nothing really changes on this bloody show, does it? We are taken to the flying saucer, and for some reason River Song now has mysterious Matt Smith syndrome, where she feels the need to hide her identity despite we all know full well who is underneath the hood. Lucas's character seems to be nothing more than River's slave as far as I can tell, bearing absolutely no character at all throughout the episode aside from him being a complete coward. River then claims her husband is dying, and as anybody who truly gives a shit at this point in the show will tell you, her husband is the Doctor, which cannot make sense in this episode when River does not recognise the Doctor. The setup for this episode is pretty great, all things considered, but then this absolutely horrific transition of snow blowing over the Doctor's face fading into the opening title shows up. Jesus, what happened to the good old... Then cut to the opening. It looks bloody awful! Then there's snow fluttering around in the opening titles just to remind us of that horribly cold time of year we're experiencing right now. Why? Why was somebody paid to put this filter over the top of a really good set of opening titles, as well as making the rotating TARDIS snowy? If it was rotating, surely all the snow on it would have just fallen off! The Doctor makes a funny joke about Matt's potential tears, and the Doctor refuses to bow because he is a supporter of socialism. The Doctor and River then move aside to see another awful looking golden floating head that the producers of Doctor Who just fucking love at the moment for some reason, but at least it's not talking this time. Then the Doctor uses his sonic sunglasses to examine the diamond, despite I would have thought that lovely blue sonic screwdriver we saw him grab hold of at the end of Series 9 would make the glasses redundant. I guess this show's regards to any form of continuity seems to just be thrown out of the window right here, so it's hardly worth even thinking about whether or not this episode should be given any praise whatsoever. Any kind of enthusiasm I had for River's return is thrown in the bin also when she shares her intentions of killing Hydroflax, as well as saying that men can't think. Imagine if the genders had been swapped right here. If a man said that women can't think, or if a husband was plotting to kill his wife, the backlash from the politically correct public would be enormous. I can understand her attitude from her character's perspective, but I have yet to see the BBC create a man saying something similar without a negative representation of his character put alongside it. Big Red Robot then crashes the party and takes off his head for some reason. River Song pulls out yet another gimmicky prop they probably pulled out of thin air at the last second, the sonic trowel, and I'm led to the conclusion that any handheld object smaller than a person's head can now become sonic. Even the Doctor recognises this when he says, "Sonic trowel, you realise how ridiculous that sounds." I did find the robot's decision to chill quite amusing, but as soon as the pair teleport away, the two start laughing for an uncomfortable amount of time. Just after River makes out with her new boyfriend, we are once again reminded that the show existed before 2005 by reeling through visual images of the previous incarnations of the Doctor. Why does the show keep doing this? It just seems to tickle the ballsacks of every Whovian that's been watching the show since they were born. Doctor Who needs to stop relying on its prior success in order to hook more fans. It's so obvious by just looking at how little people watch this show now compared to when it started. Matt Lucas then becomes the annoying head on top of red headless Buzz Lightyear, and we come to the most frustrating aspect of the episode. River claims that she'll steal the TARDIS, but the Doctor refuses to say that he is the Doctor at this point. Granted, there were 3 points before this scene where he states who he is.
I'm the Doctor. I'm the Doctor.
Who are you?
You know who I am. It's me.
But Jesus, this would be the best time to either show her your TARDIS key or whisper something in her ear that only she would know about. I'm pretty sure they've done something like that before in the series, but holy mother of God, why doesn't he say anything at this point? She is literally about to steal his only method of transport, and he just acts like he's not the Doctor. It gets even more ridiculous when River doesn't even notice that the TARDIS is a completely different design to that of what she would know. We've already established earlier that the last incarnation of the Doctor she knows is Matt Smith, right? So how does she know how to fly the fucking thing? More to the point, why on earth does the Doctor have a bar? I honestly thought better of him drinking alcohol, but then again it does explain the past 5 years of sporadic behaviour we've seen from both Smith and Capaldi. River's boyfriend then wanders down a snowy reused set from Face the Raven, and once again the show goes against itself when the red robot legs smash through the TARDIS door. So much for this scene from the opening episode of The Revival.
He's gonna follow us.
The assembled odds of Genghis Khan couldn't get through that door, and believe me, they've tried.
Oh dear, oh dear. Why Moffat seems to completely ignore all of what has been established previously in the Revival except for the Weeping Angels is beyond me. The TARDIS takes off and we arrive on the Titanic 2.0. Granted, this shot looks fucking great, but the show's originality is running a bit thin now. We have a rather awkward and at times funny conversation about digesting mothers and irritable bowels before we are informed that the staff and those with tickets have to have committed the murder of a few innocent lives before entering. I really like this piece of exposition as it adds an extra level of tension in that everybody on board can be considered an extreme threat to our protagonists. Unfortunately, none of the people on board are unique in that regard because they are all just minions of Hydroflax with scratches on their heads. This was quite a letdown considering we never truly see how dangerous any of them are as individuals. River once again makes assumptions about men that irritated me slightly, and our poorly named buyer of the diamond Scratch opens up his head and produces the payment from within. I think this was really cool, but at the same time I'd like to have known how strong his head really was. What's great about a safe is it's not exactly easy to blow open and retrieve the contents. A head is relatively simple to open provided you have the necessary precautions. I'll save you the gory details, but I hope that explains why I think just a little bit of exposition explaining that would have made his character a little more interesting. The Doctor performs a cringy monologue to buy more time and the body enters the room. You'd think if all the people in the room were all psychopathic, they wouldn't be crying and screaming for their lives as we hear them do upon the red robot body's entrance. River then stupidly says she doesn't know where the Doctor is, despite the countless times the Doctor has made it very obvious who he is, before an unnecessarily dramatic segment of River expressing her love for the Doctor. Only after that big mouthful she realises who he is and the two fall through the floor. The diamond lands on River's cleavage and the intergalactic stock market kills Hydroflax's body. The Doctor finally pulls out his sonic screwdriver and River gets censored as she gets teleported into the TARDIS. This cringy muting of dialogue from somebody's swearing thing really does my nut in, and I don't know why the word bastard should be cut out, despite there are hundreds of other words somebody can use as an insult. There's a really nice long take used here where the Doctor travels slightly forward in time to where the debris aren't unbearably hot. The Doctor then sets up the restaurants at the towers, and I really like how the Doctor uses his time machine to set up his final date with River. Unfortunately, the Doctor's gift establishes the purpose of the episode in a nutshell, the filling of a plot hole. As far as I'm aware, the Doctor never gave River his sonic screwdriver, even if it was in a mini episode, so now the library episode can take place. I'm happy the plot hole was resolved, but if this was all the episode set out to establish, I feel like my time has been somewhat wasted. I mean, let's face it, not a lot else has happened, and the whole episode is based on a mess River has gotten herself into, thus making the Doctor feel like he is just a spare part in the story. Their conversation at the end of the episode is quite sweet and well performed performed by both actors. Unfortunately, the episode ends with that horrifically cliche piece of text appearing after their little cuddle, with that stupid fucking snow appearing again. There, that's it, I'm done. God forbid what's in store for Series 10. So, did it suck? The Christmas episodes tend to be rather forgettable on the grand scheme of things, and this episode was no exception. I give this episode a 4 out of 10 because it had some funny and interesting things going on and gave River a satisfactory send-off. Unfortunately, the unoriginality, awful snowy effects, and River's frustrating dialogue and lack of recognition brings this episode down quite considerably. Shit, it's still going. Despite we all know fully well... What the hell have I even written here? Brilliant. Alright, the Doctor makes a funny jape about Matt Smith? No, we're talking about Matt Lucas, dear boy. River's song then pulls out yet another gimmicky prop. Quite amused. Matt Lucas then becomes the annoying head on top of Red Headless Bud Lightyear. Yes, I'm sure there's some kind of beer brewed in that name. Matt Lucas then becomes the annoying head on top of Red Headless Bud, not Buzz. I'll save you the gory details, but I hope this explains why I think just a little bit of Oh, why is my face and body pins and needles-ing? I really don't know.